This indicates that the Indiana Fever are the target of an attack. Brand new video has just surfaced online and is going viral faster than a half-court buzzer beater. Tahina Paopao hacked Caitlin Clark, grabbing her arm and removing it. Then, when the referees failed to call the bare hook, it was one of the worst calls I've ever seen in basketball. This is just another season where WNBA referees have failed to make calls, the right decisions regarding Caitlin Clark. This is unmistakable slow-motion evidence that the Atlanta Dream specifically targeted her, and not in a let's play tough defense manner. Instead, it was more like, let's see how far we can push the rules before someone notices. And guess what? The referees didn't just miss it, they practically co-signed it. Let's go watch the play here. As you can see, she dribbles over in a sequence that resembled a wrestling match more than a basketball play. Clark was held, hugged, and subjected to a full-on body check. We're talking jersey grabs, hip locks, the whole nine. If you slow down and look frame by frame, you can see that Paopao had two hands on Caitlin. It wasn't just a one-hand check, though. It was a highlight reel of cheap shot. This is some of the worst refereeing I've ever seen to not call a defensive fail here. Like, this is not just a hand check. This is a double jersey grab. WNBA referees are making it so damn difficult for them to make the right calls at the right moment. But here's the part that really throws the logic out the window. They took a vacation right there on the court with whistles tucked away and eyes on the ceiling. You couldn't script it worse if you tried. Actually, if grabbing someone's jersey with both hands is deemed defending, someone needs to rewrite the entire basketball rule book. Caitlin, instead of supporting a player who is being treated like a tackling dummy, the online trolls showed up as if it were their Super Bowl, and she pushed off. She's facing Paopao, and she takes a step back, three, and hits it. But the internet is going crazy over this because they are complaining about her pushing off with Caitlin Clark, who moves like a guided missile when she decides to attack the rim, was going head-to-head with Tahina Paopao. However, this wasn't defense. It was a one-woman demolition job. Paopao wasn't in a stance. Instead, she reached out as if Clark had taken the last cookie and grabbed Clark's jersey with both hands. It was almost as if she was attempting to block a train with a beach towel. Pow is on her pow, grabs her hip. Caitlin is attempting to blow past Tina Paopao, as if Tina Pao is not a good enough defender to play flat like this. She puts two hands on Caitlin Clark's jersey, then she shoots from so far back. Oh my God, and just when you think, okay, foul incoming, there is no official reaction. But wait, things get better. Clark tries to break free by extending her arm slightly, which is a standard move for any guard under intense pressure, especially when the defender is already off balance. It's not a shove or an elbow, it's just a natural move. It's not an offensive foul, and if it is, the offensive foul comes way after the defensive foul. Even if it weren't for the hand, I don't think that would be enough push-off to call an offensive foul, especially when the defensive player is off balance. However, for some reason, that's what everyone chose to focus on. Not the double-handed hold, not the obvious body bump, just that slight arm movement, and all of a sudden, she's the antagonist of the clip. Watch it again in slow motion again. She had the angle, the speed, and the momentum to avoid the defender before the contact even occurred, but because of Dream's wrestling technique, she never received the foul she deserved and instead received slander. This occurs frequently. Guards frequently work the defenders off of them, particularly when a defender has a hand on their side, on their jersey or on their arm. It's crazy. Let's talk about the storyline from the previous season was that Caitlin needed to toughen up. Every time she was knocked down, the response was a shrug and welcome to the W. Remember when Gino said this and Diana said, this kid is in for a rude awakening? They all jumped over her, but they didn't read what she said. But no one printed it. Diana Taurasi was correct. This kid is on the wrong team, has the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and is a rookie. If you're a WNBA player, if you're a player of any kind, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement. However, now that she's learned to use her body to withstand the hits, the criticism has shifted to saying that she's too physical. You can't say that she's too weak for the league one year, and how dare she push back the next. Caitlin Clark claims that she was cheap shot against the sky this season. I mean, she's been getting beaten up hard, screen, bubbles knocked down. This isn't about a single player, it's a recurrent theme. Clark is being singled out, not getting superstar calls. And the worst part is that it's becoming normalized. Each time the referees blow their whistles, it sends the message that it's acceptable to play rough with her as long as she doesn't score. Keep in mind that when Alyssa Thomas did this, it wasn't even considered a flagrant foul. Take a look at the heavy contacts. Caitlin is past Dina Palpo here, and Dina Po is stopping her with her arms like this on the jersey. There is an arm extension because she's in such a bad defensive position, and you can already see where her feet are before the contact. She's getting hacked and hammered and still dropping dimes like it's a free clinic. If you ask me, that's not just skill, it's toughness at the highest level. In any case, the worst part of this entire discussion should have been about safeguarding the league's biggest rising star, but instead it has been taken over by elbow chair referees and sour Twitter fingers. Pau Pau was obviously outmatched and had to resort to grabbing and pulling, but for some reason Clark is the target of criticism. It's insane. Caitlin Clark's arm is like Dina Pau is grabbing it, and she does take it off in an attempt to get distance so she can shoot a three-pointer, but I've never liked this. It's some of the worst refereeing I've ever seen to not call a defensive failure. Let's face it, the league needs Caitlin Clark. She's more than just a player. She's an engine that draws fans, raises ratings, and sells jerseys. The least they can do is protect her, because if this keeps up, the message will be loud and clear. You can only shine if you do it quietly. You've got it, everyone. It's time to speak up if you believe in fairness, consistency, and not allowing double standards to be tolerated. Caitlin Clark doesn't need favoritism. She needs the game to be called the way it should be. That's exactly how I'm feeling right now, bro. Watch this play, guys. There isn't a call at all, but they will call Caitlin Clark a technical. Although it's supposed to be fair, it's a crazy situation all around when it comes to Caitlin Clark, because it's obvious that she is much stronger. Caitlin has always been an underappreciated athlete, and last year she was the best guard, finishing around the rim. She shot a lot of it, and throughout the entire preseason, it seems to me that she is just getting off her deepest shots as if they're nothing. Routine, let's call it that. Blatant double standards on full display. When other players throw their weight around pulling jerseys and applying pressure with their elbows, they are praised for their toughness and are portrayed as tenacious defenders who will stop at nothing to win. However, when Caitlin Clark uses her shoulder to create space or extends her arm just enough to get out of a defender's grasp, it becomes a controversy, and the rule book is released. However, this isn't about upholding the... Since no one else regularly shoots from this distance, Caitlin is the WNBA's biggest draw. It's headline act, and she fills seats, boosts ratings, and drives the conversation. However, when you're that visible, you're bound to become a target, not just for defenders on the court, but also for critics everywhere. She does it with a flick of her wrist, making it appear as though she's hitting those threes in the clip. She's doing it, you know, going to the rack, all these different things that show she's even stronger than she was a year ago. And you see it in the strong numbers. I mean, 13 points, 6 boards, 7 assists in 23 minutes of action. Let's face it, if someone like Sabrina Ionescu or Kelsey Plum had experienced this same sequence, the talk would have been about how the referees blew an obvious foul. But since it's Clark, the narrative changes and she's suddenly being called a dirty player. We're not talking about a single missed call anymore. We're talking about a trend that's impossible to ignore. One of the biggest obstacles for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever last season was the WNBA referees. And now the front office made it clear that she's the one who gets mugged on the floor all the time, but she's rarely rewarded with a whistle. For the entire preseason, she didn't even reach the free throw line. Their business to restructure the team and add more aggressive players to help them advance in the WNBA season and potentially win a WNBA championship. But before any of that is done, we must examine the misguided missile that has the potential to ruin everything this coming season: the WNBA referees and this covert agenda. There is strong opposition to allowing Caitlin Clark to just hoop and play her game without having every move scrutinized, twisted, or the year, and another instance of WNBA referees making poor decisions regarding Caitlin Clark. Bro, how we are just one game away from the season start and already have Caitlin Clark getting fouled very hard and looking back at the referee like, damn, is true problem here. What are we looking at moving forward? What does all of this mean, not only for Caitlin Clark, but also for the Indiana Fever and the league at large, because this goes beyond a missed whistle or subpar officiating. Rather, it is a sign of a larger culture that targets its biggest star instead of supporting her. Let's start with Caitlin, who is no longer just a promising player, but the face of women's basketball, the name casual fans know, the reason sold-out crowds are attending, and the reason TV ratings are rising. However, that fame comes at a hefty cost. The WNBA referees are awful. The biased calls against Caitlin are so blatant and disgusting that they are ruining the game. Price has been subjected to constant physical abuse, constant criticism, and playing without even the most basic protection. Just take a look at how she handled it during that Atlanta Dream game. Players were draped on her like coats on a rack, and the referees stood by in silence. She's going to quit watching this sport, but she didn't lose her cool. She didn't argue. She didn't lash out. She just kept going. She kept making plays, and she nailed that step-back three in the middle of the chaos. No one gave her enough credit for that aspect of her game. But the real question is, how long can she bear that burden alone? How long can she be the hero, the star, the punching bag, and the face, and still? She is very likable, which I believe contributes to her popularity because she comes across as someone who is really just respectfully likable. Other players up there don't come across that way. The Indiana Fever is still figuring itself out. They're young, talented, and trying to create something sustainable. And Caitlin is their engine. However, the WNBA wants her to carry the torch, but won't shield her from the fire. That's a recipe for burnout. Even the best engines require upkeep and protection. Her average of 14 already shows what she is capable of. Imagine how much more she could accomplish if she weren't being pushed around like a pinball. She dragged the entire offense when she was battling through two defenders from baseline to baseline without receiving a single call. She scored 5 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds in limited minutes during the preseason with shooting splits that scream superstar. This isn't just about her numbers, it's about what the team could be if the game were fairly officiated. A fan captured this iPhone video of the Indiana Fever working out in the hallway following their game against the Atlanta Dream. It showed Caitlin, Vanna Turner, Jaylen Brown, and Natasha Howard engaging in simple lifting exercises. Additionally, you can see Sophie Cunningham emerge from the gym, young hoopers watching at home, and seeing Caitlin Clark get hacked, blamed, and called out for things others get away with, as well as the message that all of this conveys to the next generation, is that being great comes with consequences, that if you shine too brightly, the system won't support you, and that if you stand out, you're fair game. That's not the legacy the league should be creating. Since it appears that Caitlin Clark is being punished for her popularity, excellence, and uniqueness, the WNBA must decide whether to support the players who are propelling the sport's growth or risk alienating the very stars who could propel it to new heights. If there's one thing we've learned, it's that Caitlin was made for this moment, as she averaged 16 in 2024, 5 points and 4 assists per game, 5 rebounds, and a 37% field goal percentage. 58% from three. If you look at her 2025 preseason, she only played 2 games, one of which was against the Brazilian national team. She averaged 14 minutes and played 21 minutes. She shot 52 with 5 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds, 50% from three-point range and 5% from the field. She isn't backing down. Even though she is being targeted, the media continues to twist the story, and she continues to show up, step up, and inspire. So while the footage confirms what we already suspected, that she is being singled out, it also confirms something even more significant. She is still thriving. She is not just enduring the hits. She is turning them into fuel. Shooting is still changing culture. Have you guys stated clearly that you want to win a championship this year? I mean, what does success look like? I mean, a championship. And we can't stop the conversation here. If you think Caitlin Clark should be treated fairly and with the same respect as all the other players in the league, then speak up and let's make sure her name, her game, and her grit are recognized as they deserve to be. Please share your thoughts about the referees in the comment section below. You can also like and subscribe to ensure that you never miss a video. Click the video to watch it, and we'll see you in the next one.